Good morning, Northwest Indiana. Wow, that is loud on there. I came in all sorts of caffeinated, and I'm ready to go. Good morning, everyone. You know, I sat down for a second, and I had to think, what show am I doing? I think I just lost my ears. There we go. I think I'm there. There we go. See, so folks that have been watching for a long time know that I absolutely hate these headphones. But we had Whiting Chamber right before this, and they had 1 million people and a dog, and so we had to take away the microphones and give them all the headsets because station's not quite ready for how I like to do the show, which is the best way to do the show. Anyways. My name is Bob Starkey. This is Region Republicans. This show is paid for by the Lake County Republican Party. Our county leadership is Randy Niemeyer, Chairman, Leanne Ingerman, Vice Chair, Chris Saladas, Treasurer, Steve Eichner, Secretary, and our amazing Executive Director, Jessica Messler, which somehow she holds all four of those folks together and make sure we're all rowing in the right direction. A couple housekeeping bits. If you're wondering about how to get involved with the Lake County Republican Party or any of the local chapters, any of the town GOPs, head to LakeCountyRepublicanParty.com, and from there you can see events, city and town organizations. Click on city and town organizations. From there, you can check out when their meetings are, contact information, all sorts of stuff there. If you're looking for things to do, click on that events tab. That'll pull up a calendar where everybody has their monthly meetings, their fundraisers. We just got done with a pretty good stretch of fundraisers here for the primary. We had one last night in Dyer, which was I hosted it, so I get to say that, hey, it was amazing. It was great. The food was great. My guest today was there for a little bit, and we had a really good time supporting some local candidates. One coming up is Saturday, March 7th. The Cedar Lake GOP is hosting their second annual St. Patrick's Day party at Great Oaks in Cedar Lake. So again, if you're this is being recorded on Wednesday, March 4th. So if you're listening to the podcast version of this, Saturday, March 7th is when the Cedar Lake GOP is hosting their event. They've got a couple other events that I was talking with some of them last night that we're going to be teasing for the next few months. They've got a really good thing going on down there in Cedar Lake, so keep an eye out for that. Last bit of housekeeping stuff. This is the 2026 midterms. We need poll workers. Every municipality needs poll workers. If you are interested in helping out, this is a really good entry-level way of seeing what elections are all about. It's a long day, so bring a lunch, but head to LakeCountyRepublicanParty.com, click on whatever town that you live in, and reach out to their leadership. I know for Dyer, I spend weeks finding poll workers. I think we need something like 26 poll workers. And so to find 26 people who are all willing to give up their day to work from, polls are open 6 to 6, so you're going to be there 5 until 7. I mean, it's a long day, but it is a really interesting way to see democracy in action. So if you're interested, reach out. Find us on Facebook, send us a message, and we'd love to get you set up with that. I want to pivot now to my guest because I want to make sure that we have enough time to talk about everything that he's going to bring here to the region. We have Indiana is become an interesting place in the 50 states, and it started last year with redistricting. And whether you were for redistricting or against redistricting, it really put a spotlight on the Republican Party here in Indiana. And for a very long time, we were just a supermajority, and sometimes that outshines any of the inter-party discussions and squabbles here. And so at some point, I think there's become a shift in how Republicans want to lead. And in doing that, you're going to start to see a lot of primaries, whether it's at the municipal level, all the way up to the state level. And so one of the folks that has been brought into Indiana to start, I don't know, to start working on some of those primaries, to start working on getting good conservative Republicans elected, because as we know, in a state where 88 of the 92 counties are all red, it's very easy for folks to just say, I'm just going to put the R after my name and I'm going to get in. And then when they get elected, they don't necessarily follow what a majority of the Republicans want. And so I've got Nathan Roberts with me today. He is from Turning Point Action, and they are investing not just financial capital, but physical capital with, I believe there's 3 of you now in the state that are going to start working on the ground game. So first, I want you to tell everyone here, you're speaking to the entire Northwest Indiana area, but in addition, this will then go out into Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so folks, all global. You're global. Now, all of a sudden, you're global. But if you could tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Turning Point Action and what that organization is.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show today, Bob. So, for starters, everything you said is absolutely correct. Micah Beckwith, the lieutenant governor, he constantly says, we vote as a red state, but we are governed as a purple state. Republicans in Indiana have the supermajorities in both House chambers. We have the governor's mansion, Secretary of State, Attorney General, both Senate seats, majority in the U.S. House. It's been that way since I was like 12 years old for like 14 years. And yet I would say a lot of the conservative stuff we have is kind of blocked and all that. So you're totally correct. My name is Nathan Roberts. I was hired for Turning Point Action. I figured out I was getting the job like 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I was in Arizona, and then 2 weeks ago, I moved here from Indianapolis to Schererville. I'm living there now. I got an apartment, and it's been a whirlwind 2 weeks. When I moved up here 2 weeks ago, literally the only person I knew in this entire area was Trevor DeVries, and I'd met him like twice. So, yeah, in the 2 weeks I've lived here, I've gotten like a million contacts and a million meetings. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Well, Lake County is often known as one of the Democrat strongholds. Again, 92 counties, 88 of them are just red as red could be, but we've got a few outliers out there, Lake County being one of them. But in many ways, because of our size, we're also the number 1 or number 2 largest block of voting Republicans in the entire state. Despite living in a blue county, statewide, what we bring to the table really matters. And I would argue as populations are shifting, Lake County is turning much more purple than it is red. And so to have some outside resources come in to evaluate what we have and to get more of that red across the finish line is important. So,
absolutely. Lake County, I've been to a lot of GOP meetings in my day all across the state. Lake County is the most active Republican groups I've seen anywhere. And I would say conservative groups, too. They're not just Republicans that have an R next to their name. They're actually conservatives, which I think is incredible. And so to kind of lay out the goal of what I'm doing with Turning Point here, our short-term goal by May is to get Trevor elected to win that primary. By November, it's to get him elected to the state senate. And then long-term, it's to flip Lake County red. And the plan to do that is to do the exact same plan we've done in swing states like Arizona, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. In Arizona, just in 2024, over 300,000 voters in Arizona were contacted by Turning Point Action over 3 times. If we do 1% of that in the 1st Congressional District in Indiana, that would flip it Republican. Because I'm sure we all know tons of people do not vote. Tons of people do not know when there's elections. Even people who are diehard Republicans, there's a stat that says 20% of people that go to Trump rallies aren't even registered to vote.
And that is, and I would think, for anybody listening who is involved in politics, they, first off, those folks listening, when they see the voter turnout, it's, 10, 20, 30%. It's often very low. But I've been on the Dyertown Council. I've been elected twice. I am the president of the council. Every month there's a newsletter that comes out, and they've got all our faces on it. I mean, monthly. We've got a show here, the Town of Dyer show on WJOB. We've got we broadcast everything. We're everywhere, and I'm telling you, I could go 3 doors down and knock on the door, and they'd be like, "Oh, who are you?" "Oh, well, I'm Bob. I'm running for town council." "Oh, that's nice. Are you new here?" It's like, well, I've lived a couple doors down, and it almost has very little to do with engagement in terms of I've walked the town a dozen times. You do all those things, but there often is just a disconnect between people who are seemingly just living their lives, going about it. Maybe they'll watch CNN or Fox News or any one of those and get frustrated and shake their fist at the sky, but then they don't do anything about it. So getting folks to even know when election days are to go out to vote, that is often the key. Is, like you said, in some of those swing states, just running up that score really changes the landscape of things.
Totally. The whole campaign strategy, I would say, by more kind of like establishment Republicans until now, it's like we need to find the independents and convince them and all this stuff. But it's like, if you're a conservative Republican, there's really no reason to do that. I mean, if you see an independent, try to convince them, fantastic. But why would you do that when you have people that already love conservatives in the Republican Party and Trump, but just don't even know that there's elections coming up? We're doing a thing called Super Chase events, which is basically like huge kind of door-knocking campaigns. We want to have about 20 of them in the run-up to the primary on May 5th. We want to have an average attendance of 30 people. That means we need about 600 people to show up to at least one of those. The goal is to have each one of those people knock on 20 doors. That's like 12,000 doors. There's only 6,000 people that vote in the Senate primary in that election. That's more than twice the voters.
Right.
So
that's casting a huge net.
It does not take that many people to show up to contact and knock on the doors of basically everybody that votes in a Senate primary. So that's basically what we're trying to do, because we know that there's tons of people who are conservatives who just don't show up.
You and I had spoke earlier, and I found this to be interesting. So the difference between, a lot of times people, as soon as you say turning point, you don't even get to say action out before their mind goes to everything that the overall Turning Point organization is. But what I found fascinating is you said this is the first time that Turning Point Action has put staff in a non-swing state. Can you talk about that and what the motivation for that was?
Absolutely, that's right. You mentioned something, though, as Turning Point Action versus Turning Point USA.
Correct.
That's very important to talk about. Turning Point Action is the group I work for. Turning Point USA was founded like 2012. Turning Point Action was founded in 2019. They were both founded by Charlie Kirk. But Turning Point USA is only on colleges, and now they're on high schools. They're a 501c3 nonprofit. They cannot endorse candidates. They cannot organize door knocking. They cannot do anything like that. Turning Point Action, the group I work for, is a 501c4, which means they can get very political. They can endorse President Trump. They can do all that stuff. So that's kind of the difference between those two organizations. But I forgot what.
Oh, no, not a problem. It was
good.
just that, a lot of times, whether it's Turning Point, or there's a handful of other organizations, though Turning Point clearly is one of the drivers in the entire country now. Before, they were putting their resources into swing states to bring out those votes, and we saw that work in a lot of states. And now I would have to think that some of the establishment Republican hierarchies, and certainly in Lake County, the Democrat hierarchies, the machines are thinking, if these organizations are now sending staff and reinforcements to non-swing states, that's going to change the game somehow.
Absolutely. Yeah, until now, the Turning Point has been focused on getting Republicans elected. Like I said, Arizona, Pennsylvania, all those places. Now, and I think a lot of people think this is just about redistricting. It's not about redistricting. Redistricting kind of exposed how there's some Republicans who basically have no regard at all for their voters and for the national kind of future of our country. That exposed a lot of that, because for them to vote against redistricting, it wasn't just like, like I'm against it. They fought against it with everything they had. Mike Pence, Mitch Daniels, and all the rest of them. So now Turning Point, for the first time ever, is investing in a non-swing state here in Indiana. And we're doing that because we want to send a message for national and state, and this impacts local too, that if you have an R next to your name, if you walk around and campaign with a MAGA hat on and you go to the RNC and you're a Republican and you do all these things, you have to actually abide by some of those principles or there's going to be basically hell to pay. In the last decade in Indiana, there's only been one Indiana state senator, incumbent Republican, who's been successfully primaried. That is insane. Do you know how many weak, no offense, but weak Republicans there are in the Indiana State Senate? The reason there's only been one successfully primaried isn't because of a lack of, it's not because voters don't want conservative option. It's because there hasn't been any money behind it and there hasn't been anybody pointing the flashlight on these rhinos to show how weak of a job they've been doing.
Right, and so much of it, you spoke about the money. We were at a fundraiser last night. There's been fundraisers for weeks now. It takes so much money, even from the municipal level, and they're all pulling from the same pot of local donors. A lot of times it's friends and families and neighbors that are just supporting their friend, getting money that way. And so to have an outside organization really give a shot in the arm. So you're up here in Lake County. Where are your other two compatriots throughout the state?
One is in Terre Haute, working against State Senator Greg Good in favor of Brenda Wilson, and the other one is working against Linda Rogers in it's like Elkhart, South Bend, Granger area, working for a guy named Dr. Bryan for State Senate.
Okay, so you had mentioned that getting back to the whole point of you being here is to drive up the numbers to get quality Republicans elected. Right now, you're focused on Indiana State Senate District 1, where we have three folks running for that position. You had talked about having some of these. We used to call them, back in my day, I'm the old guy now, evidently. Back in my day, we would call them Super Saturdays. But really, it's these concerted efforts to get groups of like-minded individuals out. It's coalition building to get that out. What are you doing to form these coalitions of walkers, of door knockers, phone bankers, whatever it is you're doing to try to, what is your organization doing to bind those folks together?
Great question. Well, we have a thing called coalitions that we're doing. And these are they're basically trying to create like a TPUSA chapter model, except with like non-college students, like with adults. So there's coalitions based on men's, moms, Gen Z, faith, Make America Healthy Again, Healthy Americans, Black Americans, Latino Americans, farmers, and I think there might be one more. But these are basically groups that all you need is 4 people. And then when you have 4 people, Turning Point will pay for event space, free food for you to host events. And the kind of thing is once those groups are formed, it's a great launching pad to do a door knocking like 1 time a week. It's really crazy how low the investment is on something like that. It's like door knocking for 2 or 3 hours on a few Saturdays leading to Election Day is basically all we're asking from people if they actually care about stuff. And obviously there's going to be free food at those events. We're going to have huge national speakers come. I just scheduled the first 4 Super Chase events. I don't know if I should say this, but I think President Trump might be tweeting those out. So he's very involved. And a lot of that will come through the coalitions that we're building based on those demographic groups.
So if anybody's listening now on the radio or through the podcast later on YouTube, how can folks get in touch with you to get involved?
Yeah, so you can go on tpaction.com, and then you can click on Indiana, click on Lake County, and then there's a thing that you can go on from there. Or you can find me on Twitter at NathanIndiana1 on Twitter, or Instagram, NathanIndiana1. Just DM me on there, reply to one of my things on there, and I'll happily have lunch with you, coffee with you, get in contact.
This is the Region Republican Show, paid for by the Lake County Republican Party. Our chairman is Randy Niemeyer, Vice Chair Leanne Ingerman, Treasurer Chris Salatis, Secretary Steve Eichner, and Executive Director Jessica Messler. They love when I say their names. I don't know that they they care so much for that. So if you're looking to get involved in any of the local parties, hit up LakeCountyRepublicanParty.com. There you'll find the events, city and town organizations. If you're interested in joining one of these coalitions, finding out more, head over to tpaction.com.
Yes, sir.
And through there, you can find Indiana and Lake County and get in touch with Nathan there. We've got just a few minutes left. Is there anything else, any final words, anything you want to impart on some of our listeners?
To be honest, the reason why Turning Point is investing in this race isn't just because State Senator Dan Darnell's weak, even though he is, but it's because Trevor DeVries is a fantastic candidate. He's a rock-solid conservative, obviously. He's solid on all of the issues, crime, immigration, local control, schools, school choice, vouchers, all that stuff. He's a father of 4. He has a great image. The reason Turning Point's investing, it's not just because they hate Dan. It's because they love Trevor. And he would immediately go into the Indiana State Senate and become the most conservative person in that body. There's a few great people in the House who really push the ball forward. I'm thinking Andrew Ireland, Zach Payne are both great. But Trevor DeVries would come into the State Senate and immediately become the best person there. But it's not just important because of that. If we drive turnout for this, that impacts the U.S. congressional seat too. That impacts the Frank Mervan race. So even without redistricting, that very well could still be competitive, especially if Turning Point is investing in Trevor's seat and jacking up the Republican turnout there.
Well, thank you very much for coming in today. I really appreciate it. This is the Region Republican Show. Again, typically we are on the fourth Monday of the month, but we scheduled a special one today just to have Nathan come in and talk about what he's doing and what Turning Point Action is bringing to as much as we say Senate District 1 up here, it's really bringing some new muscle into Lake County. And I think the impact that you have is really going to be felt countywide, especially post-primary.
Absolutely. We're trying to flip the county, and I think we will. It's very close.
So, all right, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in today, and we will see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.